Hey, Denethor in The Lord of the Rings is the steward of Minas Tirith. He is charged with defending and protecting Minas Tirith and ultimately awaiting the return of Aragorn, the one true king. In The Return of the King, Minas Tirith is besieged by orc and goblin hordes intent on taking the city, destroying humanity, etc., evil. Denethor is charged with defending the city, but is consumed by depression and madness, which ultimately drives him to committing suicide. He douses himself and his son Faramir in oil, lights them on fire. His son Faramir escapes, but ultimately he is successful in committing suicide via burning himself alive. What I find interesting in this anecdote, this story from Lord of the Rings, is what drove him to madness was the Palantir. The Palantir was the crystal ball that he used to gather information about the world. In the Lord of the Rings world, there are 7 Palantiri. Palantiri plural, Palantir singular. Traditionally, in the Lord of the Rings world, to use a Palantir, you need great wisdom and great strength of character to productively use the wisdom and knowledge gained through this, or the knowledge gained through using the Palantir. Unfortunately, the Palantir, unbeknownst to him, is susceptible to being controlled by Sauron, who shows him truthful images, but images that do not explain the whole truth, images that are calculated to make Denethor feel crushed, despair, hopeless, like the cause is lost, and ultimately this is what drives him to suicide. I'm caught on the fact that Denethor spent his final days staring at a piece of glass or crystal, looking at the images on the glass, which drove him ultimately to despair and suicide, not wholly unlike the role of social media in our lives these days. People spend their time swiping on the glass in their pockets, these smartphones, these magnificent, amazing, magical devices, looking at the next image, which they think is reality, which they think forms their reality. And in many times, those images are wildly inaccurate, or at least don't reflect all of reality. What is on the screen is not all there is to see in the world, and thus the perspective of the person on social media is limited. Now, of course, Sauron is not in control of the search algorithm, which is what Sauron was doing to Denethor. But ultimately, I do see this parallel between the rising rates of depression, especially among middle school and high school age kids and young adults, and the emotional alienation. And this is something that really bothers me, this fundamental problem with social media, that people spend so much of their time swiping on this piece of glass and staring at the images, thinking those images are reality, when in fact they are just one viewpoint on reality and not everything there is. So the next time you're holding that smartphone in your hands, feeling that weight, swiping along that glass, look up, look out. All on that screen is not all there is to see, and that is not reality. Just something to think about. Thank you, and have a great day.